Hello everyone, and welcome back to another speed build. Today's speed build is kind of a special one, simply because I decided to, submit it, I guess? Upload it? Whichever word, is actually supposed to be used. But I decided to upload it to the Sparks Challenge because I thought it would fit. I did have an idea for this build for a couple. I don't exactly have them named yet, but the design of the outside of the house is inspired by a Design Home app picture, which you will see at the end of this video, as I always do with all the Design Home app pictures, or I should say, Design Home app houses that inspire my builds. At least the outside. For the inside and the couple of this house, who I have not created, I don't exactly have names for them, it's just an elderly couple. And the other one is Saint Joseph. And there is a third inspiration for this, which I will explain here in just a moment. But this house is inspired partially, I guess you can say, by Saint Joseph, and he is the patron saint of carpenters and woodworking. The church, he's a protector of the church as a whole. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think here. What else? He's got 2 feast days. First one is May the 1st. It's May 1st. Sorry, I was going into the May the 4th kind of thing. Anyways, but May 1st, which is the feast of Saint Joseph the Worker. And then his big major feast day, which is March 19th, which is considered a major feast day in the church. And since it usually occurs during Lent, it is one of the few days where like your Lenten practices do not apply. Like if you're doing a penance during Lent, it does not apply. Or you can take the day off and have a regular feast, since Saint Joseph is a major saint in the canon of the church. I mean, that was the other thing. He is also the patron saint of fathers. How could I forget that one? But yeah, so he's, you can typically see him at Christmas time. And of course, since, he's a major part of the Nativity, him, Mary, and baby Jesus, as our friend priest like to call it, little baby Jesus with the big fat cheeks. And that's his usual, that's where you usually see him. At least, in secular decorations of the Christmas. But the church also does, like I said, he's got 2 major feast days. The entire month of March is in fact dedicated to Saint Joseph. And even though most people like to think of Saint Patrick, because Saint Patrick's Day is a big day here in America. Stealing it from the Irish. Anyways. Yeah, he's a pretty big deal in the church. And there's a lot of speculation whether or not, or at least of how old he was when he got married to Mary. A lot of people seem to think he was, well, a lot of people like to picture him as an older man, because he does pass away before Jesus' 33rd birthday. And so there is quite a bit of speculation about, how old he was. And so most depictions show him as an older gentleman, but that also doesn't make, well, I should say almost an old man at that point, which does not make sense. So it's creepy, but most people do agree that he was an older gentleman and that he had been married before with, well, even then, this is a part that's still up for debate because not much is known about him. But there is speculation that he had been married before. He married Mary. And he only married Mary because, due to the culture of that time, most women did stay at home, and the men were the ones who worked. And so that Joseph picked the carpentry trade, which is what he taught Jesus. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of going back and forth on Saint Joseph. And a lot of it, I think, is just being nitpicky, to be honest. I mean, right, does it really matter? Like, for instance, his actual age. I think some people tend to forget that people did die at an, younger age back then than we do now, even though I still think people die fairly young. You had people like Noah and Methuselah, and I think even Adam getting into their hundreds. So, it varies. It varies. Anyways, so there's that whole thing, and I just want to give a little bit of information about him. He's a pretty awesome saint, and he does his job very well. Now to the other part, or at least the other half of the inspiration behind this build. I guess you could say the other third was a bed and breakfast. This house is supposed to be a bed and breakfast, and it's based on, each of the rooms is based on the seasons. So 4 rooms, 4 seasons, obviously. And, well, if you haven't noticed by now. But some friends of ours moved into an old house that used to be a bed and breakfast. Everything was still in it. And so my family and I, we went to go help them move in, so they can return the U-Haul truck, and we were there for about an hour just looking at everything. Just looking at everything, because, it was like, it was pretty cool, for one thing. And, they had 2 antique phones still in there, which was, like, so freaking cool. My dad was playing around with that. Well, correction, everyone was playing around with that. But, my dad's like, does it actually still work? So, it was just pretty cool going into this. I mean, this was an old house, too. The deed, which was hanging up, the original deed was hanging up in the hall, as, I keep wanting to say 1943, but I think it was actually 1843. It was just absolutely amazing going into the house. It was just so much fun. And of course, since we helped them, and they were like, we're not keeping everything. But once we helped them moved in, we got first dibs on, whatever they were going to get rid of. So we had a lot of fun shopping. So, a few little trinkets, so that was fun. Um, Not exactly a whole lot that I actually wanted, but there's a few there that I'm like, yes, I'm totally taking this. There were some actually really old books there, but the mother of the family is like, hands off, these are mine. But there was an old, old book of the Three Musketeers, and it was under the name of the Guardsmen. The Three Guardsmen. I was looking at this like, I have never heard of this book before. What is it? And I opened it and I see Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, and I'm like, this is the Three Musketeers. I did not know it was used to be called the Three Guardsmen at one time. So, yeah, that was interesting. That was like, wow. I can understand why she would want to keep that, but it's like, I also wanted it for myself. But, it looked like it was ready to fall apart, so I'm like, no, don't bother. But, oh my goodness. And they haven't even gone through everything in the house yet either. Her parents are pretty good at knowing the value of antique things, so they were going to come through when they moved in. This is another reason why they got the house, because they had a mother-in-law suite. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Oh, but anyways, so her parents were gonna come take a look at everything and determine the value of everything. How much each thing could be sold. So as we were all joking, oh, we're gonna see you guys on Antiques Roadshow. So it was something else. It was definitely inspiring, to say the least, specifically because, it helped inspire this build. And so I tried to put in as many antique things, at least on the first floor, as possible. A little bit harder to do because on the second floor, I was wanting to stick more with, of course, the Four Seasons. So the Seasons pack ties everything together. Majority of everything up on the second floor is like Seasons, and like the hallway. And then of course the wreath on each door, so you know which one's which. And then each room I wanted to do based on a specific pack, and I went to James Turner's, a Sims 4 pack or random pack generator to figure out what the others were going to be. Just have a basic use like the beds and all those packs. So I picked all the ones, or at least I selected all the ones that have beds. And of course I knew Island of Living obviously was going to be for summer. That was a no-brainer. And then I ended up, so I got what was it? The Cats and Dogs was one. So I figured that one would be spring. Outdoor Retreat, which was for winter, and I ended up having to use and then the Get Together pack as well, because there wasn't enough pictures, and I also wanted a picture from each pack as well to be showcased in there, and Outdoor Retreat doesn't have any, so I had to use a couple from Get Together. And the Outdoor Retreat was winter, so that was perfect. And then, oh, that's right, I had Discover University, which was the other one. And so I was like, that's autumn. So that's what I ended up using. And I thought so. It was a blast building it. Yeah, it took me forever to get everything done and taken care of, but it finally happened, and it is here. It is uploaded on the gallery and all that. So yes, just so yeah, the other thing, if you had noticed as well, because we are now, I think, just Yeah, as we're getting into the screenshots here, as a matter of fact, by now you would have noticed that I did the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen last, because those I did not know what to do. The style I really wanted to go with for them are the colors. Oh, that was the other thing. I used mostly Parenthood for like that little apartment suite on the bottom floor that's supposed to be for the couple who owns this. I used mostly Parenthood for that. But like I said, it was also seasons and base game is a lot of what is here. But anyways, so I did those the three main rooms last because I did not know exactly what colors I wanted. But eventually, like you noticed, it finally came together. And I worked on everything else, of course, first. So the backyard, we've got the fire, we've got the swing set, a pool, and a hot tub with a grill as well. And a little garden in the back for the wife. And a flower arranging table, plus a woodworking table for the husband. So, yeah, it was an interesting build, to say the least. But it was fun, and we are getting close to the end here now of the video, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming by. Hope you have a wonderful day. Saint Joseph, pray for us.